Ross, good morning. How are you, man?
I am fantastic, although usually when you guys play my opens, I get all fired up and I love it. I don't know, today I kind of felt like that guy sounded annoying.
I don't know. You sounded excited. You sounded very vibrant.
I know, but like a couple of his comments, I was sitting there thinking, gosh, I might have just turned the radio off. I don't know. I'm kidding. I'll make up for it right now, Chicago. I promise.
Well, I think what's exciting, there's a lot of exciting things going on with the Bears because they got a new head coach and everybody's feeling really good about it. And Ben Johnson is a great interview and a really bright guy, and he's in the honeymoon period. And now you're headed to the draft, and we look at what the Bears have achieved thus far, and they brought in an interior to their offensive line. We're not sure what direction they're going in. There are a lot of rumors floating around there, but they have the 10th pick. They got 2 picks early in the second round, and we're feeling like they're going to continue to kind of put together a team that Ben Johnson can run. Now, they need help on that defense, too. They could use another pass rush. The whole league could. But we're kind of wondering if they will wind up with a left tackle, if they'll complete perhaps the development of the entire offensive line. They had one decent player in Darnell Wright, the right tackle. They could walk away. They could come into the start of the season with an entirely new offensive line with 4 new starters.
Yeah, and I would tell you, I always sort of have mixed emotions about that. You definitely want, better players. Obviously, that's not like rocket science here, but it's not like a quick fix thing. I would say the offensive line position, let's put it this way, guys. The longer you're playing next to the guy you're playing next to, the better off you'll be. So I guess whether they take a left tackle or not, I do think that there should be some level of expectations that, they might not be a top 10 offensive line week 1, if you catch my drift, right? Like, it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's okay. Part of that's on the offensive line coach, and part of that is just the natural process of any of us in life. The more we work with the person next to us, you guys are better together now than you were when you first started, right? First couple of days, you're kind of figuring things out, working with each other. So same thing along the offensive line. But, yeah, I think that's a possibility. I think the thing that's interesting to me is, they're probably going to have their choice of the second best running back, but maybe the best. They're going to have their choice of maybe either one of the top tight ends, and then which offensive tackles are still on the board when they draft. I mean, they're in a very, very interesting position. I guess I would say I do think that they're going to take an offensive player with the first-round pick would be my guess, because it's so deep at D tackle and at edge rusher that I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Bears double up in the second round, which is probably what I would do, right? So I think that the 10th pick overall ends up being a running back, a tight end, maybe a left tackle, and I think both picks in the second round, which, by the way, I forgot they had that till I was checking it out this morning. That Bryce Young trade is the gift that keeps on giving. I think that they'll double up on the D line in the second round. I think that's the place to do it.
It would be difficult for them to make a pick at 10 that you think, wow, that was a huge mistake. I guess it's conceivable, but unlikely. So, Ross, if you were to advise Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, who I think is a big part of this draft, what would they want to avoid at number 10? What kinds of things or what kind of thought process do you think is best the Bears avoid when looking at that 10th pick?
Well, normally, David, I would say, drafting for need. And I'll still say that. Like, I don't, I understand that Braxton Jones has maybe not progressed to the level they wanted him to, I do think that he will perform better with Joe Thuney next to him, and also that Ben Johnson will do some things that will help out Braxton. I wouldn't want, like, let's say it works out, okay, and both Will Campbell and Armand Membu are both off the board when the Bears are at 10. I sure as heck wouldn't want them to think, okay, well, we still want to get a tackle, and so whoever they think that next guy is, whether it's Kelvin Banks or whoever, I mean, there's a bunch of guys we could talk about there. Man, I would not want them to reach for an offensive tackle in that situation. First of all, I'm not convinced that Kelvin Banks is going to be a great starter in the NFL, and I'm sure as heck not convinced that he'd be better than Braxton Jones would be in a contract year. So I think the board might play out. You guys tell me if I'm wrong, but what I'm thinking right now, and maybe Mason Graham falls to them, we'll see. Like, there could be guys that fall to them, but if it's the tight ends, if Jeanty's there, if both tackles are gone, I don't see them taking an offensive tackle. I would love the idea. I know that they like Cole Kmet, but man, to have another tight end to go with what they already have, and have Ben Johnson be able to use those guys in those ways would be really, really cool.
Yeah, he used more two tight end sets than anybody in the league last year when he was in Detroit. And I think, as much as he's talked about kind of building the offense around the players that are there and making everyone, making sure that you're trying to make everyone do their best, I think, they're already trying to get Caleb Williams working under center. They're already concentrating on getting some play action stuff going, and that makes a lot of sense. It just does, given the 68 sacks a year ago. If you can't get the line up and running in the correct fashion, play action will help you a ton. And there's a rumor out there. I think it was what's his name from ESPN said yesterday that they're trying to get they're praying that the running back falls to them. They take Jeanty at 10 if he fell to them. Schefter said that. So, we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, I think they would, and I think they should. I don't think that's going to happen. I would not be surprised if the Jaguars took him at 5. I think the Raiders will take him at 6. I don't think that's going to happen. The good news is it's a very deep draft at running back. So, maybe in that second round, maybe it's one running back and one defensive lineman that they take in the second round. Let's put it this way. Out of the two tight ends, Tyler Warren from Penn State and Colston Loveland from Michigan, with Jeanty, and then the two offensive tackles that people were talking about with Will Campbell and Armand Membu, one of those guys is going to be there at 10. I mean, they're going to be able to get one of those guys at 10. And, those tight ends are different players. But if you think about it, they had a slot guy in Keenan Allen last year that they thought that was really important. I like Zacchaeus, but he's not an above-average weapon at that spot, right? So with DJ Moore and Adunze, I really think there is room for them to have a second tight end along with Cole, who is a really good receiving threat that they can use those guys in different ways. I mean, I've been watching Tyler Warren since he was in high school, and gosh, if you want to talk about a guy that has Chicago Bear written all over, I mean, he's gonna bring back memories of Ditka. if the Bears, I watched so because I live here in Central Pennsylvania, I used to do like some Penn State stuff, like some local Penn State radio. So I watched his high school video. It's hilarious. He's quarterback, and nobody can tackle him. And he can run around and whatever. But then when they get near, like in the red zone, they would move him to receiver, and they would just throw him fade balls, and he would just dunk on the top of these poor corners' heads trying to cover him. And then I don't know if you guys know this, but he wore 44 at Penn State because his dad said, I want you to run the ball like this guy.
Yes.
And made him watch John Reagan's highlights.
That's a
like,
great
are you kidding
anecdote.
me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love everything about Tyler Warren, and let's put it this way. He would become like an incredible Bears fan favorite very, very quickly. And this is an important thing. Ben Johnson is tremendous, okay, at utilizing a guy's skills the way they're best suited. He would get the ball to Warren on the move so he can get that run after catch stuff and really be a fun player for the Bears.
Oh, you know your audience, Ross Tucker. So, all right, let's zoom out from the Bears for a moment. I want to look at the top 5 thought process in terms of Travis Hunter. I wanted to get your opinion on this because I think it does affect the rest of the first round. Travis Hunter, obviously you respect his versatility, and he won the Heisman Trophy because of his ability to stay on the field as a cornerback, as a wide receiver. If he were just a wide receiver, would he be a top 5 pick? If he were just a cornerback, would he be a top 5 pick? Do you think that he is legitimately a top 5 pick?
Yeah, so I talked to multiple people about this. One person said he is their number 1 ranked receiver, and he is their number 1 ranked corner. Someone else told me that they did, and I've asked either, whether it's guys that work for teams or, I had a guy come on my show, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, and he did something obviously he's never done before. He wrote up scouting reports on 2 different players, Travis Hunter, the wide receiver, Travis Hunter, the corner, and both of them ended up being top 5 players for him. So out of the top 5 players in the draft, let's just say he has Abdul Carter, he has Travis Hunter offense, Travis Hunter defense. I will say this, guys. I did a Colorado game last year. He's an absolutely absurd player. For people that don't pay attention that much to college football, he played like 160 snaps a game because in college football, with the way timeouts are and they all go hurry up and up tempo, it is bananas what he did. And it really makes you wonder just how good could he be if he only did one or the other. I don't think this is an easy nut to crack, though. I was telling somebody the other day, what would be better if he's a good corner and good receiver, or if he's elite at one or the other? There's going to be that's a problem. This is a problem that we've never really tried to solve because I think it's going to be hard for him to be elite at both. So if he's good at, I don't know. I mean, this is good sports talk radio topic. Would you rather have a guy that's good or maybe very good at 2 positions, so you're kind of saving a roster spot, you're kind of saving some money, or would you rather have a guy that's elite at 1? Because I think it's probably going to be hard for him to be elite at both.
I'll take the elite guy.
I'd take the elite guy in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'd have him specialize on one side of the ball, get the most out of that player, and take care of the rest.
But he won't do that. He claims he won't do it.
Not now.
But the other thing is...
first of all, he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
But secondly, the thing that's interesting about that is if you look at, contracts, right, elite wide receivers and elite corners, they really, really get paid.
Yeah.
And I would say a decent margin above very good corners and very good receivers. In other words, you can kind of find a very good or good player at those positions. It's hard to find elite, to your point.
What would be the most likely elite position for him? Someone told me that they thought he was a receiver, that he could have like a Jefferson type impact as a receiver, and he didn't think he could do that as a corner. Well, I was stunned to hear that because I thought he was a corner first. But what's your take?
No, I think the consensus is that he's further along as a receiver, that he's got a better chance to be elite as a receiver.
Wow.
And that's why I think, if the Browns take him at 2, which I think they will do, or the Giants somehow got him at 3, I think that they would start him at receiver. So the counter to that is you can have a package of plays as a receiver, and be able to function at a high level, you have to be in the corner meetings. Like you can't. It's hard to be a part-time corner. You have to be like the communication. It's probably O-line is 1, and then secondary is 2 in terms of communication. To ask him to be a part-time corner without being in those meetings, I think is really asking a lot. The other thing is his technique is not great at corner. He kind of gets by just because he's that athletic and he just pretends he's receiver, right? He kind of like thinks how a receiver would think. But I think most people would tell you that they think he's better and certainly better suited to play early on the offensive side of the ball, which is not as conducive to how he would have to manage the meetings to make sure he's ready to play.
All right, Ross, we've got about a minute left. Who are the Bears taking at 10?
I want him to take Tyler. Well, I want him to take Tyler Warren. I kind of think the Jets might take him, though, at 7. I'll say Colston Loveland.
Wow.
I think Loveland will still be there. I'm not sure Warren will. Loveland is a lot like Laporta. He's a more athletic Laporta, the guy that, Ben Johnson's had in Detroit the last couple of years. I actually think Warren and Cole Kmet have a bunch of similarities, bigger guys, pretty good blockers, etc. Loveland is your more like Laporta, Travis Kelce. Loveland might be the better complement to Cole Kmet at tight end, if that makes sense. I'll go Colston Loveland.